integration of persons LGBTQ plus, and we are working with some um, organizations. Before some introduction, we need to tell that equity, um, uh, our values,
Par où commencer?
and
Il y a
we
beaucoup
don't always know
de choses qui existent,
where to start. We have a lot of resources that exist, but when we
ça peut
don't
être un
have
petit
the HR department, it can be a little bit scary. The goal of this conversation is to give some practical tips about our experience today to talk about these realities. Also, we wanted to say that it's important to start, even if you don't know persons that are openly LGBTQ in at your organization. Persons LGBTQ plus, they represent a group of the population, is a tenth
avec vous, vous,
side of the population. They work with you, sometimes for you, for the clients. And half of the LGBTQ plus persons, they are not uh, mentioning it at their working place, so they can be affected by their by this at the inclusion at their work. So it's not the matter of all or nothing, but we need to do better. And I love this quote from Maya Angelou: "Do your best till you don't know anymore, and when you don't know anymore, do better."
pour
So
pouvoir faire mieux.
today we're gonna try to know better, to do better after. So, and I'm gonna uh, tell the speakers to introduce themselves now. Beatrice, maybe? Yes, hello. My name is Beatrice Sorolisho. I'm a transgender. Since 4 years ago, I'm a business woman, a business person for my company. It's going to be like 8 years since I'm working here. Dimitri, you can start. Yes, hello all. My name is Dimitri Girier. Mm, My first name is Gilles. I work at the University of Montreal in the diversity domain. I work full time there. And I have enhanced the domain of intervention with some about inclusion for some organizations. So cool. Florence? Yes, hello all. I'm Florence Chanel, pronoun L. I work Francis Tree and director, assistant director. I work with the programs as trainer. I work also at um, um, company. I'm a president of the Québécois Council LGBTQ+, so I work a lot with the communities. I work for Queer Tech. Hello, I'm Claude Larose. My pronoun is ILL. I work with the foundation Emergence, Fondation Emergence, as writing responsible. Well, it's great. We have a lot of people around the table. It's time to organize with the PME, nonprofit organizations, and we're going to talk about what literature mentions about it. Today, we're going to have 3 blocks. The first one would be to prepare the way, to prepare the ground. No matter which one could be your garden, your organization will be your garden. So we wish to see a huge variety of diversity here today. The presentation, well, we need to prepare the ground. We need an inclusive climate. We need to recruit, to hire the diversity. We need a nice biodiversity in our garden.
Garder
And we're going to
notre
try to integrate and keep our diversity. So it's great to go to the greenhouse and see if it worked in our garden, if it goes well or not. And we need to keep your talents and make them thrive inside of the organization. The first block will be about how to prepare the ground. How do we start in reality? How do we start exactly? Well, I'm gonna speak a little bit about the 50-30 challenge, and then we go back to Beatrice. Well, uh, according to the mission of the Foundation Emergence, Fondation Emergence, one of the most important steps is sensibilization. It will be raising awareness and first and the materials available for the 50-30. Some products were available in English, also in French. Some are available for in during the coming weeks. Some products like modules about inclusive recruitment, inclusive hiring. We have a control list, some diversity actions, accessibility to employment. So it would be, we recommend to see the website Egal Canada. And yes, you're going to see these are tools that were made with several community actors who have different perspectives. We need to check. The goal was to see the small and medium enterprises, and even if they don't have a lot of means, a lot of funds, these are the tools that are going to help you, and it's free. So you need to take this opportunity. So, Florence and Beatrice, how do you organize? You have a PME. I think a good way to prepare the ground is to show that the boss has uh, an open spirit. So it can be the organization. I give an example in every good enterprise. It's very good to have an employee manual to see that. In our case, in that manual, you need a section that states there will be no discrimination for this job, for this position, depending on sexual orientation, um, religious diversity, as it is the case also for racism. So it's an official document. And with that manual, it will be an opportunity to remind the system that it's in place to manage the complaints about a situation. I think if it is a good company, another way to show the opening will be it will be during working hours, well, prepare a barbecue. Some people during about diversity, we have some uh, questions about immigration. You need to bring that to the culture and show that you are an open enterprise to the difference. And you don't need to show how lesbians make love, but it's little gestures that can show this opening. And the boss should be showing at his role in the famous conversations during the weekend. You need conversations that support this opening. You don't need to be a member of the community. There are conversations during the weekend with their partners. If there is a woman or not, I'm always going to say partner. So conjoint. Well, I'm going to be with my partner. I'm going to see the movies. I'm going to the movies. So everybody in the company will know that in that company, there is an opening and there is no place for discrimination. Thank you very much, Beatrice. Florence, can you tell me a little bit what do you recommend to help the enterprises and companies about technology to make it more inclusive to LGBTQ plus persons. What do you recommend? Exactly. You need to prepare the ground because you need to hire people from the LGBTQ plus communities, your quota, if the number that you need in your company, it makes a balance. And it's about equity, inclusion. You're going to see that in several domains is important, the satisfaction at work, and it's going to give you also results. The productivity will be enhanced, and what we're going to do is the matters training, sensibilization. We're trying to raise awareness, and we are not talking exactly about the company. That's why all the workers need to be there. They need to participate to help also the community, the LGBTQ plus community, because people are there. If you know, or if you don't know, is because you mm, were not in that process of inclusion. So what I mean is that I don't mean that every worker in a company will need to have a certificate in inclusiveness and diversity. I know the complexity, the characteristics of these persons, which letters of the acronyms, because every year we add a letter, but it's normal. They should remember that there are resources available. You have people, there is a challenge, 50-30, the communities and the families. We need to create a space where representation, the diversity is represented there. So we need people on the ground to welcome new people, new workers, to make them work there. We need to limit the microaggressions, the comments is really essential for a good work climate. Absolutely. I really like your point when you say that it's important to target everyone, not only a few managers, because it's something that has to do with everyone. It concerns everyone. Dimitri, do you have some advice to prepare the ground for the persons that don't know yet how to do it? Yes, of course. I would say that it depends on the pressure that we can feel on your back. And um, I start with the principle. There are situations, some cases where the majority is open to the diversity, to the difference. And I don't live in a delicate world. I know some people are more open than others, but the majority is open to the diversity. But I could notice that people don't know how to be in relation, how to make, how to establish a relation to another person that is different. So I wanted to know how to change it, how to reduce this impact, how to stop making mistakes about it. We have the acronyms, we have around the table. We mentioned also the training is important. Everyone's training is a responsibility that we share. All the persons that belong to the organization, no matter the size, and the training is important. We need also to bring the discussion about some subjects that are not easy sometimes, and we need to be able to bring this conversation, this discussion, and people can be able to share their concerns, their ideas, a natural discussion that will be sincere. And we have opinions, and people need to know how the members of the team are situated exactly. And definitely it allows them to ask questions, to interact, because we have also the microaggressions. We live the moment. at the organization. And I think that at this moment we need to fix that. We need to raise our hand and say things. Have you seen the impact it has on this person? And you need to be conscious and try to develop this sensitivity. So we need to adjust in consequence the training, the sensibilization, the awareness uh,
et
would be
confortable
would,
pour tout le monde.
would do
Ça
more
ça
natural, more
permet vraiment
comfortable,
créer un environnement où les personnes peuvent
and it creates an
vraiment
environment where people
se
can
pouvoir être
express
expressif
themselves freely, more freely.
à n'importe quel moment. Quand on crée cette
And
culture-là, je
I
pense que
think
ça
it will
permet
be
qui peuvent être
it would be
différents ou qui
a
qui sont
way in
très
which every
quelqu'un qui soit
different person that will come and will be
familier
different
parce que
will
tout le monde
feel
fonctionne c'est pas
herself welcomed to the environment. Absolutely. I just wanted to remind to the persons that are participating at this webinar, at this panel, you may ask questions at the Q&A section. I saw that you have a few questions already. We're gonna answer all the questions at the end of the 3 blocks. We have a different uh, time for that, so please, you may write the questions already. Okay, so let's continue with our gardening, which is the moment after the winter. We are preparing the ground. So
qu'on a labouré notre jardin, qu'on a
once
enlevé
we
les
have prepared our garden, that we took
nos
the
structures,
um, bad grass, and how can we do to attract diversity?
pour commencer, j'aimerais que Coase,
To
tu nous parles
start,
d'un concept qui s'appelle
I
le
would
culture fit et le
I'd like
culture ad. Est-ce que tu
to
peux nous
talk
parler un
about
petit peu de cette
effect, cultural effect, and culture act. Can you tell me the difference between these two concepts? First of all, the culture fit uh, precedes the control act. So it's two ways the persons align about the values
facilement
of an
à
organization. The
l'équipe
cultural
culture
fit is a person that could integrate easier to the culture of the organization. The culture add is the research of a person that would bring new perspectives, new experiences, more unique and with competencies, with skills that are going to enrich the organization. It will be an advantage to win a complementary person that will enhance the cognitivity of the environment. If we continue with that metaphor of the gardening, is better. If we have tomatoes, we can search another plant, another tomato plant, and search another plant that can combine, that we can combine with tomatoes, some maybe basil, and it will make a difference. So Florence, you want to speak? You work with the different enterprises. How an enterprise can attract the community? Well, the first stage will be
La
to
thématique
prepare
du
the
jardin
garden.
tant qu'à ça, là, pourquoi pas? Mais
You have this metaphor of the garden, why not?
par
But we
jeter
need to start
ces semences un peu, puis
to
qu'est-ce
put
que
the
je peux faire en
seeds,
tant
and
qu'entrepreneur,
then
en tant
we need to
qu'entrepreneur
ask ourselves,
pour
what
l'attirer,
should
la
we
stimuler,
do
mais surtout pour
as a company
communiquer
to
avec eux.
attract the community, to connect with the
Parce que c'est
community?
quelque chose qui est connu, les communautés de
Because it's
diversité.
something that we know,
Autant là,
the
en mode
LGBTQ
employé
plus,
là, qu'en mode clientèle, bon, on est
the same as an employer, the same as a client. We are very faithful to our marks, to our brands, when we know it's inclusive, when we know it's good, because we are transferred to an environment that is safer for us, uh, the communities, the trans communities and non-binaries. Should we ask ourselves if the company, if the enterprise is communicating to the outside this message of uh, if I
moment-là, ben,
can let
c'est
them know
attirant là, pour les
that
communautés
I
qui
work this way, well, it's important for the communities that come to work. I'm not speaking here to
des
send
initiatives
an empty message. If we publish some initiatives, we need to show the work that comes with them. But what is important to find is that time to find, to go search these actions in the garden. You have several organizations that are specialized, that create these links between companies, between enterprises and employees.
On a ce qu'on appelle notre talent network.
We
Les
have
employés qui peuvent s'inscrire sur notre
our talent
plateforme,
network.
qui peuvent mettre leur CV, qui peuvent
We
voir
have
les
the
links, les
platform.
offres d'emploi
We may
de
see
nos partenaires, des
the
partenaires
job
qu'on
offers of our
filtre et on trie.
partners. From our partners, we have
Et ça permet en
filters
de créer ces liens-là
for the
sur les
research, and
employeurs
we
qui
can
sont
create
partenaires
these
pour que ces
links.
personnes
It
déterminent
helps
pour réussir
find
à trouver un
some
projet.
CVs
Parce que
from
nos employeurs,
people
ils viennent dire
from
comme ça,
different
ouais, je veux
communities,
faire ce travail-là,
and they
mais aussi
have
de
all
donner
the conditions required. So
l'employeur pour
you
lequel ils
need
veulent
to allow
travailler.
the
Est-ce que c'est un employeur
employer
qui fait des efforts
to
pour
know,
améliorer ses pratiques?
and
Est-ce que
he
c'est un
needs
employeur qui
to do
travaille
efforts
bien?
to improve
Donc,
this
est-ce que ça veut dire
practice.
que des accros sont impossibles? Non. Les
No, it's
employeurs
not
sont prêts à
impossible.
parler. Puis je pense que Dimitri, tu l'as bien
The
dit.
CVs are coming. Dimitri, you
Nous
said
pensons
that
qu'au cas, les fameux
we are
essais
scared
justement, qui
of
passent par les
the
équipes
mistakes.
ensemble,
We
ces
need to live
entrevues-là,
this
ça
experience
veut pas dire qu'on
together.
est parfait après la
And it
perfection, mais
doesn't
si
mean
ça
that
se
we're
fait
going to
bien,
become
les
perfect.
employés les employeurs qui affichent sur nos
The
plateformes,
employers
qui,
that
on le sait,
publish on our platform,
s'engagent
they
à
have a
livrer les résultats
compromise
qu'ils
to work with them,
disent. Donc,
and
on
they
se
are
met des employeurs avec moins de
producing.
pression aussi.
Well, the employer,
Trouver un moyen de connecter avec la
the,
communauté, faire
the
connaître
formula
nos
is
partenaires,
important. You need to
nos
connect
partenaires
with the
faire en sorte
community
que le milieu que tu offres, il est
and
sécuritaire pour eux.
the environment, to show that the environment is safe.
Béatrice, je sais que ta compagnie Pantara
Beatrice, your company is recognized precisely because you have some diversity inside of the company. Yes, the secret to organize the CVs that are coming from the diversity, you need to people from the diversity, from the immigration community, they need to bring their CVs, and the HR marketing, also the credibility that comes after. There is a trend that is also important. We need to follow what Florence says. We know we have a lot of networks where we know even better. And what happens is that when these links are a good way to receive the right CVs for your workplace, and you have a lot of interesting CVs, it's very well known. You have some communities, you have the Italian community, the Jewish community, the Asian community. And if you know a person inside there, she will tell, well, I love my job, and we can be accepted by us who we are. And another thing important, one of the major points for the hiring, it will be the method to do some interviews. During the interview, the person needs to feel that we are interested by uh, uh, their talent. And if we hire, well, there is also some firing. Sometimes it may happen for some reason, but it's important to end the same way it started. The same person that could choose the person to work inside of the company should announce the bad news. Because if the person from HR that hired him, she's not fired because they are racist. It's a person that uh, is not anymore, should not be anymore at the team. So it's not, it should be done in a way that they don't speak badly about the company, about the enterprise. So their job, they need to keep saying, I had no problems about that matter. So it's gonna really help the cause. And sometimes it is, there is some negligence about it. It may happen sometimes. So I think there is not a magical formula. The only thing would be to do a better effort. For example, about the job offers, the writing should be epicent, should be um, an inclusive writing. You need to write the person that researches, and it needs to include everyone. So we need to use a French and an inclusive writing. And when you do the reading in this context, it will be an inclusive writing, epicent writing. It's very easy to implement, and you have a lot of interesting
Très noté,
possibilities.
vraiment d'utiliser
It's a very good idea to
aussi
use inclusive writing, epicent writing, and we need to
Dimitri, est-ce que tu peux nous parler
continue
justement, on
that
parlait
way.
de
Dimitri,
recrutement, de mise à
can
pied
you
aussi.
tell us about
Tu nous parlais un petit peu
hiring, about
de tes conseils
recruitment,
en tant
and
qu'expert en
which
audit?
were which are your advice? Which is your advice? Um, I have a lot of interesting things. There is there are other words on the same direction. We need to see that the hiring will be, in the case, the employees are the best ambassadors of the organization. If you cannot send a message on the market by your presentation of the environment, is the persons that work inside of the organization, they don't share what you thought or what you're thinking about the organization. So you need to see and measure the different diversities. If your employees, they're living this, it gives you a huge chance to, it will be really interesting because these people are going to support you
plus inclusif au quotidien. Puis comme
to
on
be more
disait, quand
inclusive.
on parle d'inclusion, on ne
And
vise
when
pas
we
la
speak about
perfection.
inclusion,
La
we
perfection dans
are
l'inclusion,
not targeting perfection. We are looking for a progression. So it depends on the place where you come from, and you have small progress, little by little, that will show the will that you have to put in place small things sometimes. But from my point of view, is sometimes it doesn't seem that important, but it becomes really huge in the day-to-day life. So it's who says ambassador says also some critics. Well, if you project yourself, everybody knows each other, you have the networks, the majority is
caractéristiques que nous, c'est
connected,
sûr que le message va se passer.
and the persons have the same characteristics that we have. You need to pay attention to what
Donc,
it creates.
je trouve que les meilleurs recrutements que l'on fait
The best recruitment, the best hiring that we do
viennent des
are
personnes qui nous sont référées par des employés qu'on
from
a
persons that are
Et
referred
là,
to
je
us,
vais
not
donner un gros bémol à
it
ce que je
comes
viens de dire, puis je vais faire du pouce sur ce que
from
Claude
employees that we
disait
have.
plus tôt,
And I'm going to say also,
sur le culture ad. Quand dans un processus d'entrevue,
when the
vous avez
interview,
spontanément quelque chose qui vient en
when
tête
at the interview you have something spontaneous,
je suis pas sûr qu'il va fitter avec l'équipe.
I think it's going to work with the team. Sometimes you have some judgments that
les personnes.
you have some considerations for that evaluation. So we need some prototypes, some people, some persons prototypes. I'm going to hire this person, Florence, for example. It's going to be good with everyone. I need someone similar to Florence. And we need to help persons different with different projects. So we need to keep in mind that element. We need that what you leave with your employees would answer to the message that you want to send. So you need that walk the talk. We need to know what you're thinking about it. And you need to act on the things that have the most impact. We need to keep a work environment that will be inclusive for everyone. We need to ask regularly the employees, how do they what they're living, how we can improve that. We know already the epicenter writing, the inclusive writing, the pronouns also. It's very easy, very simple, doesn't require a huge investment, and it has a very big impact. I wish to add also that even if you have a lot of, you do a lot of effort, if you don't show courage when you see inappropriate behavior and words, all the efforts that you have done, it takes a lot of courage to tell Dimitri what you just said is inappropriate, is not appropriate. I don't know. I know what you think, but it has a negative impact on the team and it doesn't correspond to our values. So you send a message that the inappropriate behavior could be acceptable. So it's something that other people could keep about, could remember about your organization. So these are key moments where your courage shows really that you walk the talk, that you are putting the money where your mouth is, where their mouth is. So it's there where you are going to create all the tools and procedures that will bring a huge impact about it. Absolutely.
Fait que là, on a vu un petit peu comment attirer des talents
So we were seeing how to
en
attract
diversité,
talents, diversity to our organization.
puis c'est ça, on voit aussi que c'est important de pas se replier aussi vers l'excuse de
We
bah, tu
cannot
sais,
go
pourquoi moi,
back
pas
to the
personne
excuse. So
fait que
I don't
si
tell anyone to
c'est pas ma faute si j'ai
apply.
pas de diversité,
It's
c'est
not
peut-être
my
parce que je veux
fault
pas.
if I don't have any diversity from the LGBTQ plus.
En tant
They don't
qu'organisme,
want to
demander ben,
apply.
pourquoi
So it's
il y a
also
personne
my
qui
responsibility as
veut
an
venir
organization.
peut-être
Why
parce
they don't want to
déjà, on
apply
n'a
to
pas
my
une bonne
company?
réputation dans cette communauté. Puis comment est-ce qu'on
There
fait
is no reputation
pour
at this
regagner une bonne
organization. How do we do
réputation?
to
On l'a entendu,
recover this
comme Marie le
reputation?
dit, il y a beaucoup de bouche à oreille, il y a
Because
beaucoup
you
de
have a
gens
lot of
qui entendent beaucoup.
word of mouth, so it is the reputation
On
also.
va parler d'un troisième volet, notre troisième volet
So we're
qui
going to
est
speak on the third blog.
garder
It
la
will be
diversité. Donc, si
uh,
je reprends ma métaphore du
two,
jardin, on a préparé le
well,
terrain,
it
on
will
a
be
planté nos semis. Maintenant, pour que ça pousse, pour
how
qu'on ait une belle
to see
biodiversité, il faut arroser, il faut donner du
the
fertilisant.
integration, keep diversity. We're going to
Comment est-ce qu'on fait ça
bring some reflections, how to do that integration, how to keep the
Je demande
diversity.
à Dimitri peut-être
I'm
de
going to ask
commencer cette
Dimitri to
fois-ci
start this
avec des
time.
conseils pour l'épanouissement de nos
Uh,
talents
uh,
diversifiés.
which is your advice to
En fait,
make
je
them
vous dirais
thrive?
que je vous donnerais, parce que vous pouvez en trouver un
Well,
peu partout, mais la seule
the
chose
best advice I'm going to
que je
give you
dirais,
is the
en fait, deux choses que je vous dirais.
two
La première
things.
chose, c'est que
The first one is that
en face de vous, vous avez
don't
toujours
forget that in
une
front of
personne.
you, you always have a
Vous n'avez pas
person.
un ou
You
une
don't
membre de la
have
communauté LGBTQ2+. Puis la
a
personne,
member of the community
on
LGBTQ+.
veut les
The
inclure.
person is
Et
more
moi,
complex than the
euh,
identity. The members of the community
n'ont pas le même profil,
LGBTQ+,
n'ont pas le même
they don't
parcours,
have
n'ont
the
pas
same
vécu les mêmes
profile. They don't have the same
vécu les mêmes
experiences. They don't have the
discriminations dans
same,
certains des cas.
they
Donc,
haven't
on a
lived the
une
same
perception de nous-mêmes,
discrimination.
puis on a une
The
perception
same
de nos
discrimination is
environs,
not,
des
so we
expériences
need to see
extrêmement
what
hétérogènes
is
et extrêmement
around us.
différentes.
They are
Alors,
very
si vous
diverse
regardez ce que
experiences.
une
So
personne avec
you
qui
need to remember that you have a person in front of you, and you need to show curiosity, and you need to learn how to know that person on its career as a person, what she has done is what is important. Is very, very important because every person is a little bit different. It's an evidence, it's obvious. And the trend would be to apply miracle formulas. And if I do this for this person, maybe this other one will have the same characteristics, and I'm going to apply that too. And it's not always that way. So if you learn to know the members of your team from a curiosity, you can do the right actions to help, to be better. If we want to keep the metaphor of the garden today.
Si vous voulez qu'une fleur
You know, if you wish that a plant or a flower will grow faster, you cannot fire on that plant. The environment needs to be appropriate. You need to have the sun, the food, the nutrients. You need the colleagues around. You need uh, you need to know about it. You need to know information about how it's going and to make different. It needs to do things different
et inclusif en
in
fonction de nos besoins
equity.
et en fonction de ce que l'on souhaite réaliser aussi dans une
In,
organisation.
you need to be inclusive too inside of the organization. Absolutely. To keep the metaphor, the garden metaphor, if you need, if you want to water a cactus, for example, the same way, you're going to have a surprise. They need water, but it's not the same method. So anyone that owns a cactus knows about it. So myself is like that. So thank you, Dimitri. Beatrice, can you tell us more about what you do, which is your experience to keep the diversity? If it is valid, I think it's like Dimitri said, each argument depends on the person. You also need to see the doors of its origin, see how it goes to minority. What we have done is that all the employees, with no exception, may have the chance with the half a day, share a day with one of the groups of the different divisions or departments of the company, the clients, discover which are the colleagues, what the enterprise is doing, the sense of belonging, and also the person, for example, if I hire a computer programmer that works, it's the person that goes to that department to fix things, and well, his knowledge is a person. He may find a person at the company that becomes his friend. The second thing also that we can do is, as Dimitri said, is important. An important thing to do conferences about the subject, about the diversity in business, and it's what is the best thing to find an alley. I say, for example, what is my favorite movies, a person before being a Black person from Africa, it's you need to ask the persons about daily life,
Plus âgés,
about
genre.
the series they like, the movies they like, the films they love. You need to, uh, for example, there is a club with teenagers, and at the end, you always ask me, I always ask them, what is your favorite sport, your favorite film? People, you have employers that are going to present, for example, Marie. Oh yes, Marie is a lesbian, and Marie doesn't want to introduce herself as a lesbian, uh, themselves. And sometimes the employment, I introduce them. No, Marie is a woman from Star Trek. It's more that what is interesting. And also, we need to insist about what the person does in a good way. In our case, when I'm at the film, for example, I know for my colleagues which is the film which is their favorite, because I really ask that. Takes the pressure away, and it's not politics, it's not religion. We can always speak about something light like that, and we can also discuss about it. It cannot end badly. Sometimes it's fun, and we can develop that. And we have had this discussion several times at the company. Florence was there. Florence didn't want to speak a lot but we understand each other, and it's a good way to approach it, to be interested in the person, to know their interests more than what she represents. And the last thing will be how we are starting in an enterprise to have the diversity. We're not the first person that becomes openly gay. Doesn't need to be the person that represents the communities. Well, it's not her job. I hired the person to be architect. That's their job. It's another employment at the community. You have the foundations, you have resources that help. It helps the diversity. Well, I'm not hired to be doing this, that, so it's not bad.
Mais c'est ça, c'est de trouver
Absolutely.
l'équilibre entre
It's finding the balance
valider
between
l'unicité de la
the
personne et
valorization
reconnaître
of
qu'une
the
personne
person,
comme
of
les
the
autres
unity of the
aussi,
person, and
et de
recognizing that it is a
de
person as
donner
the
de la
others
visibilité, de
around it,
laisser la voix aux personnes
around
LGBTQ, mais
them.
pas forcément euh, de les mettre de force
It's
comme
not
bi non plus.
it's not right to
Puis,
put it
pour moi aussi, ce
to
qui peut nous
force it
permettre
either, the
de
to
déconstruire
force them to
certains
introduce themselves in a way, or
aux entreprises.
so you give already this kind of training to the enterprises, so you see the things that we see on a daily basis is Star Wars for me, not Star Trek. So it's a human being first of all, and it's a personality for me. The coffee is. I know it's on the internet right now.
Cette question-là, justement, en fait, est-ce que
Precisely, it's,
tu as vraiment centré l'identité de cette personne-là autour de
you
sa
have seen this
caractéristique de diversité?
person
Si c'est ça que tu
around
fais,
this diversity, these characteristics of diversity. If
garder ta personne,
you
peut-être
want
pas.
to keep
Est-ce
that
que si j'engage
person,
quelqu'un
maybe
comme
not.
moi
If
qui
you
va
hire
pouvoir
someone to
dans
be a
si j'engage quelqu'un
programmer
qui
and not
vraiment
hiring a
convient dans l'équipe,
consultant on
après ça, si la personne a
EDI,
envie de
if the
participer, a
person
envie de
wishes to
s'impliquer, ben là, on est
participate,
séparé du
it's
fantastique
okay.
Employee
But
Resource Group. Dans les autres
employee
organisations, ça,
resource group,
regroupent
you
plutôt
have that too.
pour certains regroupements d'emplois, c'est
Resource
des emplois pour les communautés
groups for
LGBT,
employees,
communautés ethniques, pour les
for
communautés
LGBTQ
pour les
plus
personnes handicapées,
community, for
et
handicap
ça, c'est des groupes
communities.
par et pour. Donc,
You
c'est des
have
personnes,
some
des
groups
employés qui ont
from
investi
the enterprise,
pour
employees that need to
aider
invest themselves,
fellow workers, leurs collègues
the
qui ont,
colleagues
qui ont les mêmes caractéristiques qu'eux
have the same
pour les aider à
characteristics,
s'épanouir dans leur emploi. Là, ça,
and
c'est
they need
valoriser
to
le fait
thrive in
que
their
ces personnes-là
employments. They
existent. Mais
need
outre
to
ça, ben, votre employé,
uh,
il est là
give value
pour
to
être au
that
travail.
effort.
Il est pas là juste pour être son identité puis être une
Uh,
case là,
the employer
dans, dans votre
is
rapport.
hiring them. It's not
En
just
fait,
an
je
element of
vais
the
répondre à
annual
une question que j'ai vue
report.
dans le Q&A là, parce que je pense que
Is a
c'est important de
question, I
remettre
saw
ça
that in the
en question
questions,
lorsqu'on a
among the
des
questions.
employés
Do we know when we have
qui
employees
ont une
and
résistance
employers,
aux initiatives
if
dans
there
notre
is
diversité,
some
parce que c'est
resistance
important
to this
en
kind
fait.
of initiatives? So
Lorsqu'on a de la résistance,
when we
souvent,
have
ça
some
vient,
resistance, it comes,
c'est un signe qu'on a peut-être un peu de travail à
it's a
continuer à faire en termes
sign
de
that we
sensibilisation.
cannot
À ce moment-là, on
continue
reçoit dans la
working
modalité on
on
va revoir
training, on
est-ce
raising
que la
awareness.
personne
And in that case, we're going to go back
y
to
était
the table
suffisant.
and we're going to analyze
Souvent,
if the
lorsque je
work
donne des
that we were
formations en
doing is
LGBTQ,
enough.
c'est toujours
The
le temps qu'on passe
information
ensemble,
I give
c'est un
is
espace sécuritaire à vous
the
poser
space
toutes
that
vos
we are
questions.
building
Toutes vos
together is the
questions,
space that you have for
vos
all kind
questions
of
privées,
questions,
toutes les choses que
all
vous
kind
pensez
of
que vous pouvez pas dire ça à
questions,
l'extérieur.
the things that you cannot
Posez-les-moi,
say
ça m'est
outside. Ask me that. It's my job to answer.
là pour ça.
I can listen to the
Puis
questions,
généralement, moi, j'ai pas vu de
even
personnes
if
qui
they
sont
are
sorties de
difficult.
formation
So I
puis
can
être
go
simplement
outside of my
frustré.
training. I
Simplement,
can
ça
see the
montre
initiatives
la
and
patience de
EDI
connaître le besoin de ces
because
initiatives-là.
it
C'est
shows
juste
the
une fois
need
qu'on vient
of these
déconstruire ce qui a été
initiatives.
préconçu, qu'on vient déconstruire certaines
And
idées,
we need to
ben, on se
deconstruct
rend compte en fait
certain ideas.
de la valeur ajoutée de l'inclusion pour
We
notre
find
entreprise.
out
Et donc,
the advantages,
si on a du pushback,
the added value
ben,
for our
on revient
company,
sur
for our
le retour
enterprise. So
à la
if
sensibilisation.
we have that situation, we go back to the
Parfait. Merci beaucoup, Florence.
first stage.
Est-ce que Coast, tu voulais peut-être
Thank you,
compléter
Florence.
avec des
There
pratiques
is
que tu
something
as
else you want to
vues dans
complete with some
le livre de
practices that you have
littérature
seen,
jeunesse pour
the
l'éducation à
literature
l'écologie 50-30,
magazine that you have seen there, the challenge 50-30, important things to do. Well, yes, I have some practices that are more administrative. As Dimitri mentioned, to ask and offer the pronounce is a good practice in conversation or in the signature of emails and at the business cards to have inclusive spaces as toilets that are non-gendered, raising awareness, trainings inside to consider the inside the enterprise, the equity, and also celebrate the events, the important events at the Gaieté, Journée de la Gaieté, the day of Gaieté, and improve the lifestyle. It has advantages too for the married couple, for business, for those who are not also, but who have a partner, who have a kind of union, and some accessibility policies against harassment, bullying, some tools for employers, for employees, and also, as everybody mentioned, the use of this inclusive language, epicent language too, and it's really inclusive at the job offers. If the person will recognize themselves themselves in this language, it's going to be available for theirs, for them. It's going to be available for them, and it's going to reduce the limitations for the candidate, for the applicant, and it contributes to improve this inclusive environment that you want to develop at the workplace. It has a lot of advantages, and it could limit the rotation of the staff, and you have very so many small things. Also, the best practices will be at the challenge 50-30 that you can apply at the PME, SME, and that's what I wanted
Ah, bah, ce que je propose,
to
c'est peut-être
propose.
de répondre aux questions
Well, I'm gonna
poignées pour
propose
le
to
moment.
answer
Bah, je
to
pense
the
qu'on a fait
questions that were
une
asked,
conclusion
been
pour
asked,
résumer tout ce qui a été dit.
that have been asked,
On a déjà un petit peu, Florence a déjà
and
touché un petit peu sur comment
we
est-ce
are
qu'on fait quand il
lucky
y a
because we
des
have touched already
qui
the
ont
subject
des
about
réticences au
employees who have
projet.
some
Je sais pas si
reticence about
Dimitri, tu voulais
the
peut-être aborder ce sujet un
project,
petit peu?
the
En fait,
Dimitri,
il y a une
you
chose qu'on
wanna
voit de plus en plus depuis
speak about it? There is something that we
en
see
anglais, la
for the last
les
years.
gens
It's
sont tannés d'entendre parler de diversité.
people are
Des fois, je peux comprendre les
tired of
les
speaking
dernières
about
années qu'on
diversity
a mis
sometimes.
de l'avant
You have
l'importance de la diversité, de l'inclusion.
a lot of,
Et
there is the importance of
on a travaillé
inclusiveness
dans quelques mois et
and
pas toujours de façon mobilisante.
diversity,
Je sais
but
maintenant
it's
qu'on
not
a
always
très
something that provokes a
on dit qu'il y a les
mobilization.
bons et les gentils. Il y a les personnes qui font les bonnes
It's good.
choses, puis
You have
les
the
mauvaises choses.
persons that
Et je
do
pense
the
qu'il peut y
good
avoir des
things
gens
and
qui
also persons that do the bad
vont
things.
s'impliquer dans une initiative, c'est en
You
partant
don't
de
have a person that will participate in an initiative
t'es pas gentil,
if they tell them that you don't do the good business, you don't have the right businesses, you don't have the best practices. If we need this, it's something that we need around us. We need persons with a good disposition that could uh, bring with them the persons around in the workplace. We need something different. It's not the idea to find a
C'est passé il y a
guilty
quelques
person. We are not responsible for has been done in the past years. We are responsible about what we do today, and we need to do something. We need to find more knowledge, and it's something that we don't always have. We need to learn to, and we need a training. We need to read. We need to raise awareness because I don't want to bring that on me, all on me, here today in Montreal. Uh, I don't want to explain what it is, a binary person, a trans person, is not my role. But if you have persons that ask you questions, offer that space to
C'est la
answer
meilleure
to
façon
that
de stimuler
curiosity,
les gens.
because curiosity is the best way to raise awareness to people instead of closing this path. So don't try to find a guilty person, try to
En faisant des petites choses, puis il y a plein d'exemples qui
do
ont été donnés.
with these little things, with the examples that we gave you today, we can end with a positive message to change things, to create things in an environment that is more open and inclusive. And it has definitely has a huge impact on the persons around us. Do that for the good business too, well, for the good reasons too. You don't need to do that only for answering to the quotas, not only for the image of the organization. Do it because you are sincere, you're honest in your procedure. You really need the right members for your
Ils vont vouloir
team,
travailler avec
and
vous.
these are
Faites-le.
the employees that you have. Do that for them in the first place. If you do that with sincerity and honesty, um, you're not gonna do a lot of mistakes. And if you do, it's not that serious. You learn from the mistakes, and from the beginning, from this opening, for the moment, we're changing things. So we are advancing. If you have this posture, this attitude, everything is possible. So listen to persons around you. It answers the first question. We need to have followed several trainings. Don't need to have several trainings, but you need to know what means to have a pride. Why the person wants to participate in that is, it might be important for them. If you know that, you know better your employees, and you send a more positive message, and it has better results. There is not a miracle formula, but do that way, and that was really something that I wanted to recommend. Me today, still today, even if I have 15 years of experience, I do mistakes. And as you may know, it's not that serious because I learn. If you don't do that, you won't be allowed to create this environment that will be an inclusive environment for people. So it's important. It's okay. It requires some adjustment. It's really important.
Merci beaucoup, Dimitri. En
Thank you
effet,
very
des
much,
mistakes, c'est
Dimitri. So
ça
mistakes
fait
are
toujours
human.
glissant.
That's what we
Florence,
need to
si vous
keep in
voulez
mind.
retoucher sur
Florence,
l'idée des
you want to go
réticences, est-ce
back to
que
the
ça vous
idea
dirait de
of
revenir?
critics,
Je peux y aller très
reticence?
rapidement.
Quickly, I may
Revenir
say that
justement sur cette question-là de
that
la
question
culpabilité, parce que
about
ça,
guilt
c'est une erreur que je vois souvent
is a mistake that we see
déjà dans les
often,
formations.
quite often
C'est
during
vraiment important de mettre de
trainings.
l'avant
It's
que
really
oui, on veut
important
apprendre, mais tu n'es pas
uh,
une mauvaise personne, puis tu
to
n'as
confirm
jamais
that
eu
it's right.
accès à ces sensibilisations-là, puis que tu n'as
You're
jamais
not a bad
appris
person if you never have had access to these
être
trainings.
parfait.
The
Et
human being is not perfect.
mais
We need to learn all the time,
n'avais pas
but you're
accès à
not a
ces
bad
sensibilisations-là.
person
Je pense que c'est important de
because you
mettre
had no
de
access to that
l'avant, puis
training.
le
We need
but, c'est pas de te faire
to
passer pour une
consider that
bonne personne.
you don't need to go from a bad
Mener un peu plus
to
loin
a
dans la
good
réflexion, on va
person. The
mettre des
idea is to
choses qu'on
go
peut faire
farther
mieux en tant qu'organisation,
during the
puis
reflection to help the
de centrer la
organization
discussion
to
autour de
recenter
comment est-ce qu'on
the facts around the question, how to improve the well-being of our employees. So it's our goals are these, are the well-being, the health of our employees. So that's what matters, that what allows us to justify. I think everybody agrees with this question, at least for the matter of the pride, the training, LGBT. This is a part of it. That's the question, why goes there on the pride? Why you want to start the pride? Why you want to have some events and during that period? If you are not able to tell me why you do that, at that moment, maybe you need to take some time to uh, search organizations, to search for information. There is a symbolic thing,
contre les entreprises
a
dans le
symbolic approach to the pride. When the enterprises come there, you need to ask yourself if you have a rainbow in a local or you haven't done your work inside of the company. So you have the question about, well, we go back to the question that your employees are your best ambassadors. So
est-ce que je veux juste faire du rainbow washing?
do I
Est-ce que
want
je veux juste aller
to
chercher
do
plus de
to
clientèle en étant
uh,
inclusif? Et donc, est-ce que je
bimbo
veux
washing? I want to
nouveau
find more
humain?
clients
Est-ce que je travaille
or
inclusive dans mon
this-
entreprise pour
about the
promouvoir
inclusiveness, or
pour la
I can
meilleure
manage the
expérience pour mes
access.
employés?
I'm
Je
going
pense
to
que
welcome
c'est vraiment
correctly these
posé une belle
persons,
question. Donc, c'est pas est-ce que
the
j'ai fait une
persons from the
formation, mais c'est
community. What am I going to do about
est-ce
it?
que j'ai fait le travail
What is the
que je
information I have?
que je
Have I
m'attendais à
done
faire?
the work that allows me to consider that I'm associated to the diversity, to the community of diversity? So yes, it's we go back to the expression "les bottines suivent les babines," so to walk the talk, to put the money where the mouth is. Donc, so we are going back to the initiatives in EDI
La fierté, est-ce que ça prend
about participation.
Qu'est-ce qu'il faut qu'on fasse avant de pouvoir participer à la fierté?
What do we do to be able to participate at the Pride? It's for sure the enterprises, when you have prepared the ground, you have some policies that allow you to stop the discriminative policies and actions. So you can find out if there is a problem, if there is an insult. You create a dossier. So you need to give the chance to the employer also, because at a particular moment it can bring an employee outside of the company if that person has borne an action, and it's going to have an impact on everybody, even those who don't belong to the community. They are going to, you cannot forget that the employees are there. You think it's close, but if you think it doesn't people don't talk to each other, you're blind because it flies away. So it's important to have a training, so it opens the door to the explanation of a choice. At my company, where inclusion has also these two sides of the medal. Well, I don't put the rainbow, but I'm at the company, I'm the manager, and I don't do it even if I am at the community, because I cannot. I have people inside of the company that come from different religions, cultures, uh, lesbian, different, and if I go to celebrate all the events that concern everybody, it's a lot per year. Someone that comes from another country in war, why I don't speak about it and I speak about the pride in Quebec? It's a choice from the company. So we say there is not a bad cause, but there is not a cause that is more important than the other. So it can be useful, it can be important because I give the example that we know. I I can celebrate Christmas, but I don't celebrate the other religious events. So for other families, for other religions, other days can be important. So we need to find a way to remember we are in Canada, so we have December 25th, but at the same time, we need to stay open. Uh, Another person may wish to celebrate the Pride. We need to be with him. We need to support him. We cannot be against him. So it's for all of us to bring that cause, to talk about it, to tell them you are free to have your cause. This is the job I do. So why you can do that for your child and not for the other children? So it's it could create negative links at the company, at the enterprise. When we speak about equity, is equal for everybody. So there is no cause more important than another cause. So if we wish
Oui,
to
ça
be
veut dire que
coherent,
l'idée n'est pas,
that rule
de
goes for all.
des fois on parle des olympiques de l'oppression ou qui est
So you have the Olympics of oppression, who deserves more
on va pas partir
attention.
là-dedans, mais justement des fois il y
We're
a
not going to
qui
start
permettent
that way, but
de mettre
sometimes you have
ensemble
things that
et d'aider
allow
plusieurs
you to
intervenants.
help several communities
On
at
a
the same
2
time.
questions justement
We are
qui
having
sont
two
assez
questions
similaires, donc on va les traiter
uh,
ensemble aussi vu
which
qu'on n'a
are
pas
quite
énormément
similar. We're going to treat them
d'ici
together.
la fin.
I hope
Deux
it won't
questions
take too much
qui
time
étaient
for
comment est-ce qu'on
the
crée des
conclusions.
politiques pour mieux
Do we have
soutenir les
policies
personnes
to support
trans ou
better
non consentantes?
trans
Et cette
persons
question qui
or
se ressemble
uh,
beaucoup,
uh,
comment est-ce que les employeurs
non-gendered? How the
les personnes trans
employers may
parce que
help
les deux sont
the
assez
trans
liés. On
persons?
va les
I
traiter
think
ensemble.
both questions are
Première question sur les
very
trans.
related, in particular
Béatrice,
about the trans. Beatrice, I see your hand. You raise your hand. For sure, the question comes to me probably in that side. I have an employee that wanted to be from with the community, have the integration, had to ask, and is a less frequent question, can we do the policies with, in in our place and have some openings, some questions? Maybe the person will have an idea which will be easy for them. For example, the question about the toilets, the person use them with the present conditions, and the person needs to understand if there are toilets on farm to build non-gender toilets. It's not always easy. You have some cost, and the employer needs to find a way and to see what is available to talk to the employers. So to consider the policies, and it's also what I was telling you before. It's not to have a speaker and tell them, oh, it's not like that. Now it's sad, it's sadder. And we need to see the person that goes there. And if we prepare the ground, the policies are there already, finding the base, the foundation. We are not aliens. We need to uh, consider persons sometimes from Argentina. So we need to put the money together, and we need to, if there is discrimination, we need to support our employee behind that. And sanctions should be according to the facts, should correspond to the facts. Okay. So the persons that have a trans person in place to apply the policy, there are some matters that require more time, a certain period of time. And I'm not gonna go in there, but I have the trans communities in your forms. You have places where I'm legally
Puis, oui,
I legally have the obligation to have this information about my employees because I know that they have changed their name during their employment. And so some legal names and the name that they are using is not the same. So uh, ideally, it's but sometimes it's not the
que c'est accessible à ton
same.
compte de
So
banque. Puis,
it should be available to the
aux ressources humaines qui gèrent les
employer
questions là, de
and the person at HR,
toutes les questions juridiques associées au dossier de l'employé.
the person that
Mais pour le reste,
deals with all the
on les
legal
connaît,
questions.
c'est une adresse
It's
email.
interesting. It's an email address, for example.
Ensuite, ben, au niveau des toilettes, effectivement, lorsque tes informations
Concerning
sont
the
des
toilets,
changements,
of
c'est souvent
course,
difficile de les modifier.
there are some
Construire des nouvelles
adaptations
structures ou
in
lorsque tu
place
crées un
that
nouveau
this
assainissement
are
interne,
maybe
c'est
hard to
des
change,
activités
but
existantes pour
I
la
can
commission.
do
Ça, c'est
something for the
relativement
new structures.
quoique
Maybe
c'est
I
compliqué
can add
de
new
convertir la façon dont les
toilets,
toilettes sont organisées en
another
bâtiment pour
extra toilets, or
qu'elles soient mixtes. Je sais que, par exemple, à l'Université de
to
Sherbrooke,
make them like
dans tous
mixed
ces nouveaux bâtiments,
toilets.
ont
I know that the
des
University of
toilettes
Sherbrooke,
il n'y a plus de toilettes
Sherbrooke, all the
dans les
new
nouveaux
toilets are
bâtiments à l'Université de Sherbrooke.
non-gendered. There are
C'est une
no
approche,
gender,
meilleure approche,
there are
peu importe,
no,
il y a des débats,
there is
mais c'est le choix
any
fait par
gender toilet, any new toilet is gendered.
peut être fait, mais
They
c'est
are
pas
all
obligatoire.
non-gendered.
Ah,
So I
une bonne
think
culture
there
de
are
pièces
works
ensemble,
that are
le parcours
done right now. I
fondamental
think
pour
Beatrice
professionnel
mentioned
électronique. Ce qui
the
veut dire que
experience, the career of the
si il y a
person
un accord entre
goes with the
l'employeur qui
person.
travaille, c'est au rythme de la
If
personne
the
qui sert à
person
l'employeur de
has
dire
a
ah ben moi mon protocole il me dit à la fin
situation at
du
the
mois
workplace,
on fait un meeting d'équipe.
my
C'est vraiment pas ça.
protocol ends at week 3, I do a meeting. Is sometimes it's not like that how it works.
De formation dans des écoles qui ont posé souvent la
We have a
question
lot of training at
par vos
school
parents,
that
quand est-ce que
asks the
vous faites
question, when do I speak to my
non,
parents,
il y a
etc.
des règles
There is not a
il faut que tu coches les
fixed
étapes à faire, il faut
path.
que tu fasses l'étape 8 avant l'étape 9 parce que sinon
There is
l'affaire
not
va
a fixed
exploser.
path. There is
Il y a
no
un risque
stage 9
très
and
vite avec la
an
personne
explosion if you don't do it at a specific moment. So
ne,
it's
ne
the
met
person's
en place
rights.
aucune mesure
There
spécifique à la
is
personne avant
there is
d'avoir
no
pris son dossier.
specific measure
La
in
chose
place
la plus essentielle, là, laisse la personne maître de
because
son propre.
the essential thing is that the person needs to own
Toujours ce qu'on dit là,
it's
c'est rien sur nous.
their own path.
Ça fait que toujours être
So
en
there is
position
nothing
de
without us. We are
copilote
always in
quand on aide
position
la
of
personne
as a
à
co-pilot.
apporter du soutien.
We are a person that brings support,
Oui, oui, donc
coach.
tout ce que j'allais dire a pas mal été mentionné, mais justement,
Everything I was saying, there is a lot of emotion, but it's not necessarily policies. There are protocols to
changer une salle de bain
as changing a toilet and bring it like transform it in non-gender is very easy to change in a non-gender. Is an space, inclusive space. Also, changing these locals is not difficult. So to prepare the name changing, well, you need to prepare that. Can be with an employee who wants to change their noun, their noun. It could be the uniform at work to leave the opportunity to everyone to be able to choose if it is gendered or not, to use the one that the person prefers. If it is gendered, talk about it. So you have a lot of protocols, and because they are very useful, I really like them. I don't know if the other speakers wish to add something. Thank you. I see it is 1:14. I take my last minute to do a small conclusion. Luckily, there are very good information. You have a lot of examples. We need to start somewhere with small gestures, and we have examples also, small gestures that we can do to improve this inclusive environment, to face this post period with the inclusive writing, the epicent writing. We need to show humility, we need to be humble and consider that we are not perfect, that we're going to do some mistakes and we're going to learn about ourselves. We are still learning and we need to manage that uncomfortable situations that will make us think about it, discuss about it, take the place to discuss about with our world, with the persons concerned, with the organizations, with the communities. That's the way to make enter,
Donc,
to make
c'est
people
important de
enter.
travailler sur la
It's
façon dont on communique,
also the word of mouth is the way to communicate, to do the promotion. The image that we have, our employees are our best ambassadors and also our best critics. We need to count on them.
Dans ces questions sur la
We
politique,
need to talk about also to the policies and actions that we can do. We can do a resume in, we can summarize and it could be
votre bureau en train de dire, OK,
productivity.
ma transition pour vous demander qu'est-ce
Yes, no one is going to tell you, yes, I'm going to use the transition to see what it is. Don't wait a person to tell them I'm pregnant and I'm going to wait for the parents leave. So before the situation comes, that's why our program at the Emergent Foundation, Fondation Emergente, the program is for the proactivity. So we need
commencer à
that
mobiliser les outils
way
du
to
défi
start
50-30
this
et vous
reflection
demander
and mobilize the tools of this understanding. And you're going to say, if there is a person that will ask in my office, I'm going to do the transition, how can I do? I know how would I answer? What's the information? What are the tools? Foundation, La Fondation Emergence. We can start preparing for that. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone, the persons that participated at the training, that asked the right questions, very interesting questions, all the persons that participated, that have participated at this panel, that have shared their expertise, their experience, and thank you very much to all of you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci, thank you.
Merci à
Merci.
toi aussi, Olivia, d'avoir animé avec
Thanks,
brio l'événement.
thanks to you, to Olivia, for for the presentations.
Je pense qu'on peut arrêter l'enregistrement.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, Béatrice.
Au revoir.
Simon, if you can maybe stop the recording.